not be joining us.
No. What's going on
No,
with
he's
Mike?
on the
How about the
he's on a
this?
cruise ship, dude.
He is?
He's on a cruise ship, dude. He's gone.
You're kidding
He's
me.
on his way to the Bahamas right now.
Did he go with I assume he went with my sister-in-law and your other niece?
Yes, and his significant other and 4 other people on the high seas right now.
Oh, you're kidding me.
So he had sent you a note to say adios, goodbye, and until next time.
Oh my God, that's awesome. All right, I'll check that out. I might have missed that in the traffic. And for our listeners and viewers here, we're welcome to episode 16. We are live with Without a Net, and we're gonna dive right into it today because before we went live, folks, we were talking about cell phones breaking and technology and a bunch of things that'll be good to get us right back into bike tech. We were also talking about bikers huddled under overpasses as they get deluged by water. And all of these things segue into the bike tech and the I don't want to say I'm getting nervous, but I'm starting to get like my brain has to prepare for every scenario before this big ride I've got coming up in a couple weeks. So like my wheels are spinning constantly. So I need you guys as like a support group this week to help out with a few questions. I'll warn you in advance. Eddie, it's great to see you. It's good to have you back this week. We understand
Hey.
last week you had a bit of a technical issue with your cell phone. Can you tell us a little bit about that? What happened?
Well, I do don't know that Quad Lock is the best mount around. We're not being sponsored by them yet, but I have a little bit of an incompatibility with my phone and the Quad Lock right now for 2 reasons. One is that the bandolier that I usually use for my phone, which is like kind of like just a leather strap that holds it to my body, I have to take it out to put the Quad Lock mount on. So the other reason is that one night when my bike was parked in front of my building, a car hit it, and it hit it right into the next to it, and it just became one big motorcycle salad. And the only thing that was really damaged though was my Quad Lock. Part of the mount just fucking broke.
Oh no!
It's plastic. So somebody gave me a temporary mount, and greetings out there to Dr. B. I ride with him sometimes. Gave me like a temporary mount that has like rubber parts, and anyway, so I had my phone on this temporary mount, and I was racing down the highway last Saturday, yeah, and it flew off, and I saw it in slow motion. All my cards, my IDs from 3 different countries, because I had my backup wallet because I don't have a U.S. ID right now, and just like all my fucking cards, my new debit card, everything replacement because of my last incident. I lost my cards, so and then my phone I've never seen a phone in so many pieces all over the highway, and the music was still playing, like some good Steely Dan. I can't believe it.
Oh no!
That's what happened, and I mean, I know I didn't learn anything from it. I knew it. It was just me not.
Is Quad Lock? Quad Lock, are they one of the ones where it's like a disc on the bottom of that like locks onto another locking mechanism on the back of your phone? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's known as the best mount. It's got a swivel, and it's got an anti-vibration, which is great for a phone because I've gotten tips on to get a Quad Lock because the vibration will loosen the camera lens on an iPhone.
Nice. What's up, Scott? Welcome to the show, man.
Hey, sorry I'm late, everybody. It's been a heck of a diabetes kind of day.
Oh no, I'm sorry to hear that, man. And
no, it's just stupid stuff. Like your sugar's high, it's high, and you keep adding insulin, and all of a sudden you're like near death cratering levels. Like I'm glad I'm not driving a motorcycle, but that's why I'm sitting down right now. Please don't let me interrupt you.
Yeah, no, please. And I don't want to take us off track right away here, but does this have anything to do with A1C?
No.
Okay, no. Because I know of Down with Rybelsus is a medicine that I see advertised.
Exactly.
I don't know if anybody needs to get their A1C. They've got some really good jingles.
No, my A1C is great. My blood sugar right now is on a roller coaster. That's all that's going on. But everything's fine. I don't plan to drop dead during this.
All right, good. Well, welcome aboard. Yeah. We were just recounting the story of Eddie's cell phone flying off, along with. and she added the wrinkle too that so I assume your cell phone was also doubling as your wallet, and that you had your cards and stuff in there.
Oh, that's a lot of eggs in one basket that I hadn't considered.
Yeah. Oh no. So but you were able to get all that stuff back, right?
Oh no! Yes. This time I was. A microchip came out of my Spanish ID, but that's maybe a good thing. And then
Well,
no one's tracking you at the border now.
yeah, exactly. So maybe you don't have to worry about going. You can't go overseas right away. But
It's funny, and
go ahead,
Eddie. It happened to be in the episode you missed. I was just telling these gentlemen about my phone. I think the one time you heard, "Oh no!" and the phone bounced off my belly and went to the side there. So, but
thanks to your belly, though, it ended up in the grass. Eddie would not have such a problem.
You can't see this, but here is the OtterBox, the phone covering with another double inside and a new screen on it. The same phone was recovered. So yes, kids, in my case, I think take 2 extra steps to safeguard your equipment and tie it down properly. That is our lesson of the day. Otherwise, we were able to find it bounced off of me, went into the grass area along the parkway, and about a mile road, there it was lying face down. And all I had to do was I placed a new box and I put a new screen on, and it's still good to go and still been cranked. So there you go.
Yeah, I can't. I put this in the show notes, and for anybody who's interested, I'll share it. I'll post it later on the site. The cell phone holder I use is called Lamicall, which is a really strange name because it reminds me of, I think, Lamisil, which are like those little guys.
Oh yeah, I use that for a rash, I think, Jay.
But it's Lamicall, and I linked it in the show notes, Eddie. And it's a $16.99 phone holder. I've been using this for a little less than a year. Knock on wood, I've never had a single issue with it. It's not at all. It's not complicated. You don't have to do anything special to your phone.
You have it with you? Can you show it to me?
I can. Please? Unfortunately, it's on my bike. I didn't pull it in, but I will. I'll send you the link right now.
What part goes to your phone, though?
So the way that it mounts is it's got a typical, like, I guess you'd call it like a C-clamp that you tighten over, and then that latches down, and you use, like, I have these things, and this is, one of the, your mileage may vary, but whenever you buy these mounts, they come with usually rubber strips that you can use to insert inside of it that will, like, that will adjust the gauge of the clamp. So you put a couple of those in there so it holds it good. That also gives you a little bit of vibration reduction. And then there's just a ball joint that, like, screws onto the back of the phone, and the phone sits in a vise, like just a little like that, and it snaps closed. So very easy, very cheap. Again, I've never had any issues with it, so definitely, worth a shot if you're looking for something that's less expensive and more effective. Yeah, what do you got there, Carl? What are you holding up there?
This was the one I used for a long time. I still say it was my human error and not mechanical error, because this is here. It's basically a vise, and it's still accommodated with a sort of similar OtterBox protective covering. But basically, it's tightened device. It sits in its own little well.
Yeah.
It charges its wire. Charges
big.
Right there, and it plugs in right into the bottom. If you didn't like it that way, there is also another cable that goes straight to the battery. It goes. So this was fine. I don't blame this one, but I just wanted to be, hit me once, don't hit me twice.
You probably
I got more of the clamp one. I could take it off the bike. It comes in here, comes on the side, and it was when you press it in, all clamps locks it in.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. You probably, I don't know if you know this, but did the charge from the wireless charge keep up with your usage? Like, if you're running GPS on that thing and you've got your phone like the screen on so you can see it, is that wireless charge keep up with it, or does your battery run down, or did you not notice?
It did. I realize that I have to keep it down to a minimum. So I would say keeping it to music and or GPS or just GPS at, depending upon, and then I would alternate going back and forth. But I did because this I would have able going into the phone as a backup because again in my fairing I have 2 cigarette lighters, so I'm able to go one for
and for a guy who doesn't smoke,
and
that's
one
a lot
for
of
the. That's a lot of juice I'm putting in it, so I don't really run out more.
Yeah. All right. Right on. Well. All right, so that's we have a couple of options for cell phone holders that we've talked about just now in last episode. There's a billion out there. You can spend a shit ton of money if you want. Everybody's results are a little a little bit different, but I definitely will share the 17 or 16.99 version that's been working for me. And we didn't get a chance last week to talk about cameras very much. We started to talk about cameras and camera mounts and that technology. And if you're like me in the last year or so, you probably have wondered, how are people making these crazy 360 videos and some of these other things that I'm seeing for riders, motorcycling in particular. And they look very much like drone footage. And again, the ability to have like a 360 view. And I stumbled across this when looking for a camera that had like a forward and backward option, similar, Carlos, to the system that you have set up in your trike. And that's what led me down this path. But I'm sure you guys have probably seen these, but let me ask, hopefully, if you've seen any of my content, you might be familiar. What's that?
Is that the Insta360 or?
Yeah, that's so I have the Insta360, and that's it. And just so we know, I'm pretty sure everybody's familiar with what we're talking about with 360 video. So this is, it looks like video that has that pans around and almost like a drone kind of footage. And I have the Insta360. Insta360 is the manufacturer, and just so everybody knows, we're not sponsored. I'm not shilling for these guys, although I would do so at a heartbeat.
Today's episode brought to you by Insta360.
Yeah, this could be your sponsorship. And by the way, I got space on my helmet, and I'm going to have a 3,000-mile ride coming up if anybody's looking for a little extra airtime. But the Insta360, it's got a little LCD screen here. You see the lenses. I'll explain that in a moment. There are, I think, a few other brands. As far as I know, and let somebody tell us that we're wrong, Insta360 really was first to market with this technology. And these are different than GoPro cameras in that they are 360. And very simply, if you can kind of see here for those watching, there's a lens, sort of like a half sphere on either side of the camera, which if you put each 2 halves of a sphere together, you get a ball or a sphere, and that's your 360 view. So the camera is actually shooting out of both sides of this simultaneously while you're recording. This model is not their latest one. The newest one has a much larger LCD on this, which I think is really the only difference. And it's, which if you're like me, I don't spend a lot of time using and reading the LCD when I'm flying down the fucking highway. So it's not a big need for me to have another screen to look at. But if you want to spend a few less bucks, you can probably buy down a model if you're looking to pick one of these up. And again, the way that the 360 works is basically the camera through software, which we can talk about, patches and stitches the 2 halves together of that of each side of the camera and gives you a 360 view. So that's the model I'm currently rocking. Let me stop there for a second and take a breath. I don't know. Do you guys know of any other manufacturers? Have either any of you guys played around with one of these yet?
Aside from the GoPro, I mean, that's the standard. I guess I say standard because I remember asking those in our chapter, what they were using, and they seemed to be with the GoPro, and then they graduated to the higher end. I have a brand that was sort of saying you don't have. I think when I researched Akaso, I think Akaso was the people who say, I don't want to spend the $400 for the name brand when it does the same thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I found Akaso was in my early phases. It's a one directional.
Right.
So it allows me to on the same GoPro mount I have on my windshield to have just that forward view. If I really want a forward and back view, I would have to then defer to my Lenovo camera system, which is a front dash and a rear dash, and then look at them both.
Right.
In which case, but again, it's not a 360.
Right. Yeah, I'm not aware of any other manufacturers, and I'll say this unsolicited advice. Be careful what you buy if you look for if there will be fast followers that'll be Chinese versions, and actually I think Insta360 is a Chinese company, so not to besmirch their goodwill, but there'll be knockoffs that will come on the market for like a third of the price, and there'll be so just be wary about those things. And if you're looking for a price save, like Amazon will sell these devices lower than their regular retail price, and it's like an Apple device. There's a set retail price. It costs what it costs wherever you go. But sometimes I think the model I bought was like 400 retail.
Yeah, while you were there talking about it, I happen to say, if I was somebody listening in, say, well, this dude's talking about Insta360. So I went on Amazon's site, and the prices, depending upon what dude I like, I'm just going to pick one at random. Insta360 Go 3, 64 gigabytes, small, blah, 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 $400.
Yeah.
And it looks like for the basic stuff. And then if you say, I want the kitchen sink thrown in there, I want the straps, I want the headgear, I want the whole.
Yeah.
$550
yeah,
for the whole.
They'll throw in like the accessory kits, which you do definitely need a few things with it. But I was able to get mine for like $360 because I got like one of those weird one-day sales that just pops up. Also, I rolled the dice with this. Your mileage, caveat emptor. I will buy open box stuff, and Amazon is usually pretty good about saying like, this is perfect, there's nothing wrong with it, it was just open and sent back. Sooner or later you're going to get a dud, but I've had really good luck. So anyway, the camera itself is very easy to use. The magic really happens with software, which we'll talk about in a second. But I wanted to show, I learned a new term last week, ball joint, which came up when we discussed the mount. This is the primary mount that I use. So you can see it's 2 ball joints, and it's your regular C-clip that mounts just about anywhere you can put it. You have to be with motorcycles being shiny and chrome. A lot of the places that you can put something like this, it's going to be probably not the right word, but slippery, meaning that if you're doing 70 miles an hour, even with this thing as tight as it goes and it catches in the wind, it could get loose or whatever because it's slipping on chrome. So I've had, using a little extra rubber, or I actually, when I was putting it on my Sissy bar, which is chrome, I wrapped the mount spot with medical tape so like it would get a nice good bite so that I didn't have to worry about it moving. And if you're wondering, to add to that, why it would move, this is the magic, and this is really the most important part of the 360 camera. And there's the thing here, I see it's designed, you can read that there, it says designed for bullet time. There's more technology and capability of this camera than I have ever, than I've begun to understand. But the invisible selfie stick is really what is the draw for this. So this is the selfie stick. It's pretty, it's collapsible, telescopic, nothing too crazy there. It's got a screw mount in the bottom, so that can go together and marry together with your mount like that. So you can mount the camera directly on this, or you can mount it like that, using the selfie stick together, and you guys can use your imagination. And when you put that on the back of the bike and angle it behind you, that's what gives you like that flying drone behind view. Because the way the camera works is it does not capture the stick. So as long as it's on that stick, you don't see the actual stick itself. You just see what looks like, like a fly behind drone view. It's fantastic from behind the bike, and there's a guy whose videos I watched who, if you can mount it off the side of your bike, either by hard mounting it or simply putting it on the selfie stick and then sitting on it. If you're going to go like down a road where you're not going to have a lot of traffic, and you can put that thing out to the side of you, it's fantastic. It looks like you basically have got a car following you while you go. It's really amazing. So the magic happens by using the invisible selfie stick as your mount. Along with your mount, and for all the crap that they will sell you if you buy one of these cameras, the add-on packages of accessories, all you really need are the mounts, and I would definitely go for a little rubber case. I have a little silicone case on mine, and it's got a little hat for the lenses. because these will get mucked up very easily. They're pretty sensitive, so they recommend the little booty. But that's it. That's that's all the parts that I had to add on to use it with my bike. And like I said, I barely scratched the surface, but I absolutely love using the camera. It's fantastic. So what do you got
I guess
there?
I'm already there.
Yeah, you're good to
I'm
go.
already
You're perfect.
there.
So the magic.
This was my prototype because.
Did you make that? What is that on top?
Here was my. Oh, that's my little angel trike here. It's my little angel trike here.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
There it is. But basically, I was before in the day of old and nights were bold. I would put 35 millimeter camera on top of this, which was the standard thread for the camera, and I would have this angle a little bit over the windshield, and that I would just kind of press the button. That was
as you were going.
My day,
old school.
And I would hope for the best, and hope for the best, and put something on there, and we'll figure it out later on.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, that's.
This also serves when you have no camera. Serves as an excellent memo pad holder.
Yeah, well, there you go.
I want to let you know when you have to think about that.
That's really old school.
Same
analog.
device. So now you turn it to the side, and you the memo pad right there, so you have your little directions.
Oh, yeah.
Holding it there, so you can be able to still look at it and point to it, stuff there.
Yeah,
so
see, kids, this is the kind of expert knowledge that you're not going to get on Facebook. That's why you come here for this show, because we're bringing people together. And so we'll keep moving keep the topic moving here, and I'll keep rolling on the camera, because I've been dying to share this knowledge with you guys, since it's my limited experience. The last thing we will say with I can add about the 360 cameras is the magic really happens. I know I just said this before with the selfie stick, but the magic really happens with the software. So the Insta360 camera has its own proprietary software or a plugin that you can use with Adobe Premiere Pro, which for those not initiated is the industry standard for video editing. And what happens is when you go into either the Insta360 software or Premiere Pro, you edit the 360 video, and you essentially, and I'll use kind of an industry term, when you're done with it, what you export is a flat video. Meaning you can, while you're in 360, you basically have the cinematic ability to point the camera wherever you want based on what you captured. So, you can't see everything all the time unless you put it into a fishbowl mode, which is a very kind of specific effect. So what you do is you essentially set, and I think we call them like anchor points or something like that, where as you're watching the video, you say, okay, I want the camera to stay focused this way, and then I'm going down the road, and then I pass by a neat building, so I'm going to make a track like that, and then I'm going to have it go back, and you produce these effects, and that's where you make the video come to life in the way that you'd want to, and then you export it into essentially a flat video, which is what you see people post on YouTube or Facebook or wherever they go. So the magic really does happen in the software. It's like one of those things, as I mentioned before, that I feel like I'm just barely scratching the surface of what's capable, especially when I see other people's videos. So it's a fantastic tool. Again, it's not, it's first world problems. They're not cheap, but it's really made it a great way for me to share my rides with family and stuff like that. Go ahead, Carlos. You were going to say something?
What would you suggest to us newbies like if you were going to give, from your particular experience, 3 either must-haves or 3 definite lessons, and then 3 oh shit moments, that don't do this or don't do that, sort of like that, and then again dictating if you budget of X, maybe because that's all consideration. I think budget and confidence and motorcycle.
Yeah, so that's a good point. So I'll answer it this way. We talked about the prices ranging anywhere from like $350 to $400 and probably more. That's not the total cost of ownership. You do need some mounts and gear, of which none of those come with it. You've got it, and they're not cost, you're talking for $50, you can buy a, one of those Amazon packs that will come with all of these things, and you can parse out what you need. But you can get them for less expensive.
To
Go ahead.
help me figure out what to get, because I just decided I need this.
Yeah.
Since, it's a Sturgis too. I mean, it would be such a shame to not
Yeah.
record.
If you're gonna
Eddie, I
get
can
into
help
it-
you out with that.
I need all
sorry, Dave.
I can get to every
So
offer.
what I'm saying is,
Practice pack too.
in my box of goodies and supplies and
Is that the mystery box?
over the years, my mystery box of a lot of stuff I have there. I can give you, donate to you at the bottom. This goes on the head. This
Yeah,
grabs
yeah.
how I
Yeah.
would
These
show
are
you.
super useful
I can
because
give
they're.
you.
Oh, I'm sorry, Carlos.
I can give you a little shorty, and then on the top, right on the top, I think I have probably one around in there. And in which case, the rest is up to you, kiddo. You got it. The camera's on
Hey.
you.
Yeah, they're
Oh,
super.
good.
These are super useful.
The offer, Sensei, 100%. Yes, I accept. Let's go.
Now, there's a couple other things you got to keep in. I'm glad you asked the question, Carlos, about any lessons learned or must-haves or whatever. The must-haves are going to be power and storage. So if you're going to use one of these things, they shoot in it's 4K video, but it actually says 5.7K, so I think it's a little bit higher than that. And it chows battery, so it'll eat the battery of the device on a full charge. If you're just streaming if you're recording 360 video in 5K, you're going to have about a half an hour of battery time, and it's going to run down fast, which was the first. Yeah, no, it does not. It went down really fast on me the first time. So now, what I do, and there's lots of different ways you can do this, but I keep a portable battery on my bike. I keep tons of them actually, but this is one of them here that I use, just your basic like 20,000 whatever charge, and I plug it into that, so it runs off of that. I could hook it up directly to my bike if I wanted to, but know when you get into this, you're going to need to be able to power it. You can buy multiple batteries, so you can go out and buy, like, they sell packs of like 4 or 5 of the batteries, so you could charge those up and just swap them out. You figure it out, you got options, but know you're going to have to spend a few bucks for battery, and know that the first time you go out, if it takes you a half an hour to get to the place you want a video, when you get there and the camera dies, don't let that happen to you. The other thing you need to keep in mind is storage. So these record to mini SD cards, which are really too small for me to show here, but you guys are probably familiar with those. Not only do you need a mini SD card, but you need a specific kind of mini SD card, because the cheapos that you cannot buy, the Broxonics, it's 2 terabytes and it's only $4 on Amazon. Your finest Croatian memory chips are not going to work well. It requires, I have to use, and this is what I would recommend. I think their SanDisk is the brand, and again, we don't get credit for that, but it's their Gold Pro Advanced. It's like 3 levels.
Class 10, Jay.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. So there are class ratings on SD cards, and that is the read-write speed. So you want a class 10. And SanDisk makes them. You can just look on Amazon. If you search for SD card and class 10, the cheap ones are, I don't know what class they are, but they sure ain't 10, or they claim to be and aren't. So you just it's usually just a couple dollars more, and they're going to be a lot more reliable, and they're going to have a faster read and write speed. And the write speed is what's really important.
Yeah, and let me send this to you. I'm linking this to you. Tell me if this is. I worked for a semiconductor company up until recently. Let me tell me if this is, because, and this is at first, I'll admit that I chinsed out. So when I bought my camera, I bought a cheap. I bought a kind of a cheap but very large card, and I had problems with it, and it wasn't recording, it wasn't capturing right. So I quickly, through Google Fu, realized you can't use cheap cards with these things. So then I bought name brand, like with Amazon, not really knowing again what metrics to be looking for, but what is Amazon said this is your high speed 4K, blah blah blah. And I ran with that. That still didn't work right. And I went on and did more Google Fu and found out that, even these high end will still not work. And the camera will actually give you a message saying that, it stops recording because your card is too slow.
Oh,
So the one that I just sent you is what I ended up going with. It's the SanDisk Extreme Pro. And it's a 200 MBS read and 140 MBS write.
Yep.
So that's, I don't know what class it is. It doesn't say that, but
Let
that's
me
what.
see. Yeah, this is also what I use when I'm recording podcasts for the same reason.
Really cool.
if
Awesome
the-
shirt, by the way.
If the device is not able to write to the card fast enough, it's going to run out of
Right.
buffer space
No
in
pun
order to
intended.
hold that, and something's got to give. So it's either going to drop frames if it's video, or it's going to just completely stop and say, I give up,
Yeah.
or you don't know what's going to happen. So, not cheaping out is probably, this one is very, very expensive though.
Yeah.
I cheap them around.
I'm using two of these right now, and they are not cheap, but they are. I've had no issues since I switched to this SanDisk Extreme Pro or whatever it is.
And you might be able to get away with something that's cheaper, because $55 for 512 gig. Actually, no, you know what? I take that back. 512 gig is a massively huge card. So $55 doesn't seem that unreasonable for something of this level.
Yeah, and there's, again, if you're gonna, this is, I think, a good way to look at it too. If you're gonna wade into this pool, and you're gonna shoot video, you want it to work. There have been more than a few times where I've missed, really great parts of rides, and it doesn't matter. It's all water under the bridge or whatever now. But at the time, you're like, well, fuck, I missed that because I had an issue or whatever. So, it's worth it to spend a few bucks on the card. Make sure that you've got a power source. And then one other thing I'll add is, if you're going to be traveling, so these cards fill up, and you can't. The 360 video editing is, a level or two, I think, not necessarily more complex, but more thoughtful beyond maybe what you do on your phone. So you're not going to be like editing and deleting the files on the fly. You're going to be accumulating, if you go on like a ride of more than a day or whatever, you're going to be accumulating gigs of video that presumably you'll edit when you get home at some point. So actually, there's multiple ways you can do this, but I was using my laptop on my last trip, and just when I stayed in a hotel room, whatever, I would offload the video onto the laptop hard drive and free up the space on the card, and then when I got home, I could do the video editing.
Funny story, Jay, when 20 years ago or 15 years ago, when I was a wedding photographer, we didn't have SD cards. That they had not really been invented yet. We had old
Zip drives.
They were rectangular, and they were thick and heavy, and they were really expensive. And I think the one I had held 512 megabytes, and it was like probably $200 at the time. And the reason I was a wedding photographer was because I needed extra money.
Yeah.
So buying extra cards wasn't really a good idea. So I used to have to go to my car between the wedding and the reception and offload all of the images so that I had room to finish the reception. Otherwise, I was going to not be able to take photos. And I just looked it up, by the way. The one that you sent me here, class 10 means it can write 10 megabits per second to the card. This is a class 30. So it's, if you want to think of it, I don't know if you can call it 3 times better, it can write 30 megabits per second to the card. So the one that you sent me is, I guess when I said you need a class 10, I should have said you need at least a class 10.
Well, that's good to know, though. Because
The more writing you can do, the better, especially, and I've never dealt with, I'm not a video guy, so dealing with 4K video and stuff, this is a new area that's beyond my expertise.
Yeah, can you send me a link to what would be a class 10 card that you would use, so I can see? I want to back down.
Yeah, I can look up what I've purchased in the past. I'm
I'm
sure
only
for
saying
audio, I haven't had the needs that video
I'm curious to know
impose.
if I could if I can spend 35 instead of 55 or something on a card, that might be, every 50.
I mean, is a $25 difference really worth it when you have one chance at recording your video? I don't know.
Yeah, it would be worth it just for me to test it to see if I got as my intellectual curiosity. But all right, so that's your Carlos. Going back to your question, the lessons I've learned is that it's a fantastic tool and device to expand your rides. And if you're like me, you can't be on your bike 24/7, right? We got to do stuff, and it's a fun way, at night or whatever. I really enjoy even a few days after a ride, sitting down and going through the video and just watching and kind of reliving it and editing the clips and, learning as I go. So it's definitely, it opens up a world that's pretty interesting. So, and there are plenty of times, I'll turn it off and I won't have it on, or I won't use it because, not that it's intrusive, but sometimes you just want to have a little P and Q. But I will say I don't find it to be. I had a GoPro that I used when I would surf, and I found that to be extremely distracting because I don't know why. Just you're hoping that you're going to catch a wave. You're thinking about it, so you're kind of squeezing too hard. And I fell one time and knocked it off the surfboard with my leg, and that really hurt. But at any rate, so I think you gotta be careful.
There is something to say, Jay, for being in the moment and enjoying it and worrying less about getting the right video. It's like the people that stand there at concerts or, or fireworks with their phone up. Like, never in the history of humanity has anyone ever gone back and watched one of those. So you might be better off just putting your phone down and enjoying the thing. Now you're talking about capturing a ride for a different reason, which is posterity, content production, that kind of stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's definitely, this is a great tool to work with, and it's a really good community. And, speaking of rides and capturing the moment, we were talking before we started. Carlos was telling us that in the Northeast, weather's a little wet this weekend. He was talking about watching riders, huddling under a overpass in the rain. So we've got if my plan holds, I'm leaving for Sturgis, Mount Rushmore points, all other points in 2 weeks, and I could not be more excited. I'm also like a little bit nervous. I got a couple of questions I want to bounce off. Eddie, you're going too, so I thought maybe you might have some questions. One thing, quick little anecdote. I shared you guys with this. I shared this with you guys, and anybody who wants to can see it on the dudeofib.com under the ride section. I've got it broken out how I chunked out my trip into stops of roughly 250-mile sections, and that's because
how'd you come up with 250, Jay? Is that gas? Is that just tiredness? Is it what's your thinking?
It's endurance, fatigue, and also the dog. So I have so my longest day that I've ever ridden was 360, and that was through the mountains, from Vegas back to San Diego. Really, it was a hard ride, and I felt it. Plus, I have the dog. So the dog, I don't want to push him more than he can. And I'm also thinking, like, if I can go 500 miles in a day, I will. But I figured this way I break it out. That way I know I have intervals that are safe, and I do kind of want to, I'm taking the time. I do kind of want to, just relax and enjoy it. Like there's something about me that's like, I'm dying to get back out and, laying in a tent.
Smell the roses.
Yeah. Just get out there.
There you go.
Smell the roses.
So that's the plan. I broke it up into sections. There's a guy, his Instagram account is FLA_Explorer. So I think it's, Florida Explorer. This guy who rides, a really cool dude I found on Instagram. He's on his way to Mount Rushmore now to meet friends, and he left from Florida. And I'm following this guy's progress, and he's doing like 500-600 miles a day on a Sportster 1200 in the rain. So now I feel like shit, man. I'm gonna have to, not that it's not peer pressure, but that definitely made me think about, man,
ride your skill level, Jay.
Yeah, exactly.
Ride your skill level.
Yeah, for all you know, the guy's 20 years old and his back doesn't hurt the way ours does, Jay. Like I would say, don't base it on somebody else. Base it on your enjoyment.
Yeah.
You know what, Jay?
Yeah. What are you going to do? Say, I got there at the same time as Florida guy.
Yeah.
I can't walk, and I was miserable the whole time, but what a trip.
Yeah. I'm going to have to be,
helicopter. I've been riding over 40 years, and I've been here, there, and, got all that's been there, but I would never go toe to toe with an iron butt rider.
Yeah.
Iron butt rider will always make me look like a wuss any day, and I'd rather be like this.
Yeah.
The bike on. All right.
Bebopping down the
road.
road.
Versus see go like this.
Yeah, like
You
I
know,
was telling you
it's
when I was like those guys in the baggers, you know, and they always wave, but when they go flying past you on those performance baggers, like, and I feel like I'm doing 75. I'm doing 75, and I feel like I'm evil Knievel, and then somebody drives past me, you know, no hands on his, you know, and he's like cutting something on the fairing of his bike. But yeah, so that's. I'm going to try to keep it around 250 and, you know, random. I'm going to try to camp as much as I can. I decided to try to, unless I know better, like there's a specific destination or a campground or spot somebody like, you know, I want to get to, I'm going to try to just stay at KOAs. And I was, you know, Campground of America. I know this is not a huge camping crowd, but I feel like that's a fairly safe bet. Like they're consistent. Like I can know what I'm going to expect. You know, that kind of thing. It's, you know, like they're expecting travelers, that kind of stuff. But I don't know. It's probably a dumb question, but you know, do you think counting on them, you know, KOAs is a safe or unsafe bet?
Well, every time I've seen someone murdered on Unsolved Mysteries, the KOA people are extremely helpful to the police, helping the investigation. So you're probably in good shape.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So yeah, that's one point in favor of KOA.
Scott, that's a vote of confidence there, buddy. That's great.
Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to do. I'm looking at KOAs. I also added in every stop that I'm planning to make, and I mean, again, I may not stop or stay in these cities. I added, I look to see where the local Harley dealerships are, so that I can, you know, if I want to, I can stop and get a T-shirt or a poker chip or whatever, or, you know, do a hog check-in, that kind of thing along the way. So I scouted those out, and I'm also, like I said, I'm scouting out the place to stay. I got a bit of a crossroads where I'm at right now, and you have to take a look, guys, on your on the website, but if you go to dudeofib.com, you can see my planned route. And Scott, I might need a little bit of advice from you on this too, because you know the area. But the way that I'm going is basically, you know, once I'm going towards Utah and then basically due east to Denver, where Scott lives, and then from Denver, I'm going to go basically straight north and kind of, you know, zigzag a little bit up through Wyoming into South Dakota and all the spots that we're going to hit there. So the way back, though, like the fastest route home from that most northern point, which is like, say, Devil's Tower, is like a diagonal line through Wyoming. And I've never been to Wyoming, but as I follow the little highway route all the way across the state looking for places to stay, there aren't a whole lot of them on this highway. And it seems like a really kind of barren route. So I'm on the fence about, do I want to go back that way? Is it going to be a long, boring ride through there? Or should I go, you know, back south towards Denver and try to, you know, do something else? So that's what, you know, I'm on the fence with which way to go. But if you go to rides on my on the website, you can see that kind of like those stops that run through Wyoming. So, you know, Scott, you may see me more than once on this trip.
Well, if you got 2 layovers in Denver, I'm not sure why, but yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome to come here as many times as you like.
But to think about it, you know, again, you know your body. You know your endurance. You know what you can physically take. Now you're going out. You're pumped up. You're full of excitement. You're superhuman. You can do thousands of miles going out. Now you're out there. You and Larry are partying it up at every dog camp there. You know, at every doggy bar there, drinking together on the bowls there. And now you're up late. And now it's fatigue component
Chowing
because we don't know how well you're rested. What's that?
I said I'm sorry. We're chowing pepperonis left and right.
Yeah,
pepperonis together, hanging out together. But that's where you have to be aware. You know, fatigue is going to be that hidden factor. How well did you drink? And how well did you hydrate? Did you sleep well? Because now going back, if you're on a desolate area, if you were pumping out across desolate area, you're pumped, you're straightforward. Going on like Badlands or, you know, any flat area for mile after mile, it's going to wear on you.
Yeah.
And I say wear on you because you're going to be exhausted. There's nothing to distract you versus, you know, to say
something interactive.
Rest stops are going to be few and far between.
The adrenaline and the endorphins on the way there, you know, carry. Jay, think about the number of times you've gone to an airport and then, you know, you fly out and it's fine. you're coming home and you're like, I don't remember this airport being such a shithole.
Yeah,
And
that's
you
kind
know,
of what I'm
it's the
trying
same
to weigh.
place.
Is yeah, it's in but
Yeah.
you know, I have to. It's in this. A big part of it is, and it's this. I'm looking at the road, you know, state of Wyoming right now, and it's basically, you know, from Deadwood.
Yeah.
Wyoming is a square, right? Deadwood is and Devil's Tower are in the upper right hand, you know, are by the upper right hand corner of that square. The way home towards Salt Lake City, by comparison, is in the bottom left hand corner of that square. So you're basically, the route home basically takes you from Deadwood down towards Salt Lake City and Provo, whatever that is, which is like diagonal across the state of Wyoming. So what I don't know is, you know, 100 miles into that ride, am I going to want to shoot myself in the head because I've seen the same fence, you know, like, but, you know, and again, I don't care. Like, I can get lost in my thoughts. Like, long, boring rides are not necessarily a showstopper, but there may be something better to see, you know? So there's also Yellowstone on the other side of Wyoming, if you drive straight across, but my wife just yelled something from the other room, so maybe I'm not going to Yellowstone. We'll see. But so, you know, that's the planning right now. Is every day I'm poring over the directions. I also added on that chart the altitude of each of the stops, or altitude, the sea level, height above sea level, as well as the high and low and mean weather temperatures, which are not a huge, you know. It gives you a little bit of insight about like when you're in the desert versus the high plains. But I'm assuming, and I'm planning, and Carlos, back to where we started, I'm expecting to get rained on and stormed on
And
every day.
that's the key there. That's the key there. That's going to dictate also your travels. While you great, you got the best rain gear, you think you're ready, confident, but if you can avoid it, especially in open terrain. I mean, we were doing back Devil's Tower, and I'm going with my buddy, and we got 2 performance baggers with us, and there's this, you're seeing for miles and miles this ominous, dark, black, and you see sparks of lightning, lights and flashes. And I'm saying, and I'm looking at my buddy, we stop, I take a picture, and I said, we're not going in that direction, are we? And he says, no, we're going in that direction where it was like, I said, so we got to like really stay ahead of this, right?
Yeah.
And he showed me on Weather Underground, which was an excellent weather app that he showed me. We bumped into a couple that were like, you know, it was like a little place on the side, and they said, hey, did you just come from there? Yeah. We got to go over there. Yeah. Got to get dressed up because you're going to need it.
Yeah.
So,
put your poncho on.
Said they were not wearing gear, and the wife looked at us. You could see on her face.
Oh, like
she was
color.
like, oh.
Yeah, exactly.
And we were like,
well, that's, you know, I'm also
real fast, faster than our 70.
Not only for people though, also, like you need rain gear for your gear too. I have to make sure that everything I'm having on that bike is going to have you know, that needs to stay dry, has a rain cover for it and all that too, which is another thing that's making me think how I pack.
It's all back to your packing.
Yeah.
Remember packing that rain gear to the top of the hill, so that you put that bag of like that, so that you can really and hate to say it, but how many times have you used rain gear? How fast are you able to put on rain gear? I'm surprised how fast you can do it when the shit's hitting the fan, or you know, like, and you don't overpass, you know. So that's also the thing. Also, Hog used to give out, when you your membership, a great, good old fashioned atlas. And on Atlas, it had every single dealer in that state.
Beautiful.
So if you got poor service, you're wondering where that place is, you know, you get that map up.
Yeah.
But right now, you get the Hog app. If you get the Hog app, and you see you plan your route, then that's the other way, saying, oh, you're here, where you're only 5 miles from, or 10 miles from the chapter, or from a dealership, which is also part of your strategy to say, what if?
Right.
You play that what if there.
Yeah,
you know?
I said T-shirts and hog mileage check-in before, but that crossed my mind too, you know, making sure that I know where I can stop, like where there's local dealerships if I need it. making sure I've got, the hog roadside coverage and all that. So that I want to make sure that I'm totally decked out on. Rain gear has been another thing that I've been making sure that I've got, not only for myself, but making sure, like, for example, I have a big backpack rucksack that I like to use, but I don't think it's waterproof, and I don't have a rain cover for it. I could fashion one from another bag that I have easily if I wanted to. But I'm thinking about, do I want to just get like a 20-liter dry bag or something like that for my clothes or something different, so, I'm tinkering around. Go ahead. What are you going to say?
Two tips for you from the old school, that it keeps your hands warm and keeps your boot and your feet warm. So let's just say you have get disposable gloves.
Yep.
And I say disposable gloves, the kind of gloves in there, what's this?
I know you're talking.
I'm sorry, I'm being shoved a shish kebab in my.
Hey, AF
so
with the
this
shish
is-
kebabs.
I don't know, but there's
Did you bring enough for the rest of us?
in my hand here.
Yeah.
Beware of strangers
So I
bearing
will
shish
have to-
kebabs.
Yeah, Jay, if
So
you're
I'm
camping
gonna-
and a stranger offers you a shish kebab, you should pass.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I'm.
Excuse me. Have a good day, guys.
Thank you. Good
And
seeing
girls.
you.
I'm going to eat this shish kebab. Excuse me, but all kidding aside, here.
Are you talking about bringing latex gloves?
Yeah, I have a bunch of those, like black lace. Liz actually gave me a box of those the other day. And you know what else I wanted?
You know, it's a little
Carlos.
disturbing that
But
he
I-
had them just like at
Yeah.
hand.
Yeah, right here next to my
What I mean
tape
by
and my
this
rope.
is, if you have a few pairs of this, you're having gloves, put these on, and you can put your regular riderless gloves or your leather gloves. You see how fast your gloves will bleed black.
Yeah,
As soon as you're out there. So keep a few pairs of these to keep you warm. These are emergency. Keep your hands warm and dry.
they can
especially
also
in the
help
rain.
keep your hands
The
from
same
getting beat
thing
to shit
also
too,
with
right? From getting beat up. I mean,
Well,
It
and-
also keeps the wind out, and I've worn those. I'll be the cold weather expert of the group. You do have to be careful if you are in sub-freezing temperatures, because the water will pool on the inside of them, and it could lead to frostbite.
no shit.
But we're not talking about that. You're going into
I hope not,
I don't
no.
know, east nowhere in the middle of summer. I think you're going to be fine.
Well, I have to cross.
But
I have to cross the
your
Rockies,
hands will
right?
get clammy on the inside of them.
All right. Well, I will.
Get clammy. Baggies. This is going to sound really weird. You don't have waterproof boot, okay? Maybe not. You can try to put some shit on it, but most of the time you don't need it. So get regular little baggies, grocery baggies.
Yep.
Okay, put your feet inside the baggie. Put your boot over it, and what? You get caught in a rainstorm. Big deal.
Yeah, I
Doesn't
haven't had
matter.
to
Your
use them
feet
yet.
are
I've got
still
the
dry.
pullover things too that pull up over your boots.
But these don't take up any
These don't
space,
take up time
and
either.
You just throw them in
yeah,
there.
yeah, absolutely.
Right.
That's the rain. Yeah, rain has been a big piece of it, and the gloves. I'm glad you mentioned that because I dragged those out the other day. I asked the wife. I know we had the box lying around somewhere, not only for what you mentioned, but also just for taking stuff on and off the bike at times. Like it's your hands get beat to shit, and sometimes it's just easier to throw something. If you're going to be bungee cording stuff up, save yourself a few nicks. So I definitely I'm going to be rocking those. I mentioned the dry bag. I'm looking at how I'm going to get all my stuff packed, but I think, I'm more or less, I'm taking a USA on Harley. MJ and Jordy would be, I hope would be proud that I'm going to try to take a somewhat minimalist approach in that I am only packing and bringing the things that I absolutely need. So that's where I'm focused right now, is kind of whittling that list down. And I can't get it. This is stupid nerd thing. I'm working on the web design piece to get the full list to display, but I did make a live version in Google Sheets that I'm updating with the stuff that I'm going to bring and all this kind of stuff. So to the extent everybody's curious, I can have the one list to rule them all. So Eddie, when are your what is your prep looking like? I'm crazy. I overthink about these things, and I don't currently have a job, so I can spend all my time obsessing about
Oh,
it.
you're so lucky. I had to put it in my calendar for this afternoon after the podcast. I'm doing my first dry run pack, so I'm leaving in the beginning of August, so I'll at least have time to buy and order whatever is missing.
Yeah.
Man, it's so much that goes into it. I have to schedule like my manicure right before I leave and check my tire pressure and get like my hair done and stuff. So like my calendar like towards the end of before I leave is just already full, and I'm kind of starting to stress about it. To be
Yeah, well, I don't
honest.
want to add to your stress, but I have a countdown on the website if that helps, and time is ticking.
Eddie,
That's a good idea.
Eddie, prior to this trip, Eddie, maybe Leslie can help you. What was your longest trip that's for? Or did you ever
I
pack
went to Milwaukee last
any
summer.
what was that?
I went to Milwaukee last summer.
Okay, how long was you traveling?
How long?
How many
A month?
miles?
No, it was a couple of weeks.
All right, so but you packed, you rode for a couple of weeks and you packed for a couple of weeks.
An acquaintance, so they packed like they were able to on their big bike carry a lot of things, everything of mine.
That's cool. So you had somebody, you had the ability to stow stuff on there. Are you adding
A lot of
anything?
things. This time, I mean, I'm only meeting my travel partner after the first day of riding. So my first day of riding is going to be over to Columbus, Ohio, alone in one day, and that's the part that makes me a little nervous too. But I've got it planned. I ordered a giant like USA map that I'm gonna like put on the wall and like plot my route.
All right, cool. Sorry about that.
So-
We got caught a little dog barking in there. I lived in I worked and commuted to Columbus, Ohio for work every week for almost 2 years. So I spent a lot of time in Ohio. Once you get on the other side of Pennsylvania, it's just a long, flat ride. Cool area though. So are you adding anything to your bike? Have you decided, like, is there anything that gear wise, like, bigger than a bread box that you want to modify or change before you go?
To the engine guard.
Yep.
I don't know if I'm going to use them, but I'm getting some spurs and some pegs. I'm changing the air cleaner. I'm going to saw it so that it's more narrow.
Okay.
So I'm going to take off the air cleaner, use the grinding saw.
Yep.
And just reattach it, because if I'm going to, I've never had physical pain from riding. I don't know why, but like my friends are insisting I get the highway pegs so I can keep my legs so I can straighten them out.
I know people swear by them. Carlos, you've said this before, that highway pegs are a must.
And then a new phone mount. And
yep.
I was gonna get I think that's everything.
Right on.
But I'm doing this for really, really like primitive style, like almost stock bike. No new shocks, no windshield. It's pretty exciting. But the thing is, the difference you and me did is that I'm gonna be staying at pretty nice hotels
yes.
the whole time. The Sturgis and everything. I'm not even probably gonna meet the ones.
Eddie, you have a full face?
Sorry? I have a modular.
You have a modular.
Yeah.
I have the ability to stay in a hotel at any time if I choose, and I definitely will take advantage of that. Like, if I'm driving up somewhere and I'm gonna get somewhere and I see the forecast says that it's gonna rain from 5 till 10 o'clock at night, I'm probably gonna go to a hotel that night if I can, because why set up a tent in the rain? And if I can avoid it, but I probably won't be able to avoid it all the time. But And depending on where you go, there's lots of cheap options along the way. If you're not beholden to staying in a Hilton or whatever, you can get in someplace cheap and dry out.
Well, you've also got a dog.
Yeah, you'd be surprised that most places are pet friendly, even more so than I think they have been in the past. And I don't know if it's the region or whatever, but that is something to contend with. Is you do have a dog, so you gotta, I have to make sure I stay at places that are pet friendly and will be good for him too. But that's, I have the flexibility, but I want to try to camp as much as possible, just because it's affordable and gives you a chance to relax and see a little bit of nature, which is hopefully not too much of the wet side of nature. But I know we're coming up on the hours, and I don't want to take up all of your Sunday afternoon. So a couple of things before we wrap up. I really, really enjoyed the discussion on the camera tech. Thanks for letting me nerd out a little bit on that. I really enjoy messing around with the videos. And if you guys have more questions, please, and if you're thinking about diving in, let me know. I'm happy to help out. I wanted to say too that another little news update, changing subjects here a little bit. Larry is becoming a bit of a minor celebrity. Yesterday was the first time I went out. I went out yesterday for a ride. Larry had to go to the vet. We did that, and then we had to go to Cycle Gear to get some stuff. We stopped at home first, leave to go back out, and I was at a stoplight in town when I noticed that there were like people behind me on either side, like leaning out their windows, taking cell phone videos, and Larry's on the bike behind me, and they're hooting and hollering. And this has happened before, but like it was never like two people at once, and I'm just sitting there like on my bike, and I can't hear anything because I'm listening to music and I have a loud bike, and they're all yelling. I'm like, oh, that was neat. Larry's made me smile. Then I got the Cycle Gear, and somebody drove by and stopped and asked if they could come out and take a picture with the dog. So as I was getting off my bike, and I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. And then I got inside the store, and two more people asked to take pictures with Larry. So I don't know where this is coming from, but it's gone to his head. He's getting a little bit big for his britches, so I may need to knock him down a few pegs. But this Sturgis trip could be a rough one. Could be a tough if he starts trying to get wild. I don't want to have to pull him out of the Buffalo Chip late one night or something like that. But we'll see what happens. So more to come on that. Before I let you guys get on with your Sundays, anything cool going on this week you guys want to talk about? Anything exciting you want to plug?
No, but I was out for a walk before this and thought of all of you. I was trying to get my blood sugar down, and a motorcycle rode by, and there were two things that I noticed about this motorcycle. One was what seemed to be a lack of a muffler. Now, I don't know what the legality of this was, but it was, I was wearing that headset I was telling you about, the bone conduction one, where my ears are still open. That way, if somebody comes up behind me, that I don't crap myself. This was so loud I couldn't hear a thing when it was going by, and it was still about a quarter mile up the road, and I was still having trouble hearing my book that I was listening to. And the other thing was that they were playing music, and we were talking about this last week, and it was loud.
Yeah.
And I'm talking like you're an asshole level loud.
Yep.
And what I started to think about was how entitled this person seemed to me, that I'm sure everybody in the surrounding area wants to hear what I'm listening to. And I was annoyed on multiple levels, but it did stand out to me, and I noticed it, and I wanted to point it out to you.
Yeah, I'm not sure what everybody else thinks, but I know exactly the guy you're talking about. And most bikes, I mean, like I have a 2-to-1 muffler or exhaust is what the term would be in the motorcycle world, and it's it's called a thunderheader. It's meant to be, it's loud. I don't have the external speakers. A lot of the higher end bikes got, like the bigger bikes, custom CVO type baggers. Carlos has talked a lot about the fairings. They have speakers.
They had a wide kind of fairing on the front.
They have them
built
built in.
This guy was, he was a big dude, bald like me. So I'm not no shade there, but he looked pretty sure of himself.
Yeah,
and I certainly wasn't going to complain to him about his music.
There was a guy who lived on. Yeah, you did say, yeah. When we lived in another part of town, there was a guy who lived in our neighborhood who would leave, and he blast loud music on. He had a huge bike, big fairing, loud, and he would go off down the street, and every car alarm on the road would go off behind him. I don't like I maybe someday my mind will change on this, but I don't like everybody hearing my music, period. That's just like a kind of insult thing. Like I don't want the world to blast it. I'm sure some writers love that, and I don't know how you could even hear it over the bike yourself. So I'm not in favor of the music. I do like the loud pipes though, and I will confess that like I'll go down the street in my town and like when you rip it open and you just hear car alarms going off behind you as you drive away. There is a bit of an like
Scott,
you're a dick if you blast loud music, but on the other hand, like there is sort of a mental part of riding a motorcycle is I'm going to be as loud as I want.
I get that. I get that. That's part of the mindset.
Yeah.
And,
The music
for
thing is just kind
I
of
listen to jazz and classical music, so it's not like I'm going to be blasting that anywhere. I don't roll the windows down like everybody wants to hear Miles Davis today.
Yeah, and it's weird because I don't and I'm not saying this just to kiss your butt. And we'll wrap up in a second here. To me, like when you're on the highway or you're going fast, there's a symphony of sounds that are not the music. There's the sound of the bike and the sound around you, and eventually all these things like create like they get in tune with one another, and that's like the what you're hearing. And even when I have the music full blast in my ears, like you kind of zone out of it. I can't imagine like just having it blasting at me like that, but. Again, it's to each their own. Carlos, what do you think?
After a while, there's got to be some mental fatigue from that amount of noise, and then put on top of it the music. Like I don't know if it's ever happened to you while you're mowing the lawn. So you put your music real loud, and by the time you finish, you're like, I'm freaking exhausted here. Like all I want is quiet.
Yeah. Sometimes I come home from a long ride, and I'll be talking to my wife, and it's like, oh, it was good. We were going down the road.
Scott, I would like you to, since we have a wonderful soundtrack of Old and in the Way, contributions from everybody that we all have listened to and enjoyed, maybe you would like to include a few hits that we might, calm.
I have a driving playlist that I like.
Okay,
we need to see
maybe
what's
I'll
on
contribute
that.
something to that.
Misunderstand that. My last two comments, will really wrap it up here with Jay and Edie. Especially about know your limitations, listen to your body, because listen to what your body's telling you. Don't tough it out. Enjoy the ride. Suddenly the ride become a bad memory.
Yeah.
And and Eddie, if you haven't, and listening to all the stuff that you and all this other stuff, the one thing, if I heard it right, you said you were gonna get engine. Did you say that? An engine? Do you have an engine guard on?
Yeah.
You do have it, or you don't have it?
She does.
Oh, okay. So that I thought I heard you say you didn't have it. So that was that key component that really was drumming into my head. And then putting highway pegs is a controversial topic with police. We'll talk about that, about riding position versus looking cool versus. Yeah, there is. I've trained with motorcycle highway cops. They'll be the first guys to club you, just because they don't like the safety perspective. But that's for another issue. We'll talk about safety issues on that.
All right. Yeah, that's cool. I'll be interested to talk. I'd be interested to hear about that. I hope that this week I'll narrow down and confirm my exact departure time, but it looks like it's going to be 2 weeks from today. So we'll be back next week for a show, and then we'll take a little hiatus as we all ride off.
I'll be out next week, Jay.
All right,
not that this is a big loss to the show or anything.
It is. You are a huge part of this program. I will be in
South Carolina at a Christmas podcast convention.
You're kidding me. Who are you going to see anybody I know there?
Probably not.
No, none of the like Dwayne or any of those guys.
No, I'm an invited guest to do a live episode. So that's what I will be doing.
Is this with the Deck the
Halls guys? You can't be broadcasting from the road?
I don't know what I'll be doing on Sunday, but it sure won't be sitting still in a hotel room. Although July in South Carolina, it's not exactly the ideal venue.
Yeah.
So I'll probably be sweating through my shorts or something.
You will.
I don't know.
Yeah. Bring a loincloth.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right. Hey, listen, it's been fantastic as always. I was so looking forward to this week as ever, and you guys answered a few of the questions that I've been racking in my brain, and I will keep updating the live route. So check that out on dudevib.com/rides. You can see that. Thank you guys again, as always. I hope you have a fantastic Sunday. Shiny side up, and we'll see you next week. Cheers.
Oh, thanks everybody.
Adios, guys. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.